Hey everyone, and welcome back to Too Ambitious. I am so excited that you all are here. I hope that your January is going swimmingly. I always wanted to use that word, but this has been such a great year so far, and I hope that everyone is doing well and achieving all their goals because we know at the start of the year we all make these resolutions. But sometimes we kind of drop off. So I want to give you some encouragement to keep going. So if this is your first time joining the show, this is Too Ambitious. This is the show that celebrates Black women and women of color founders who are innovators, disruptors, and yes, very, very ambitious. Now, today, I'm super excited to have this founder on our show today. Some of you probably already know her, especially if you're on LinkedIn. But joining me today is internationally recognized speaker, award winning executive, and best selling author, Desiree Coleman-Fry. That's right. Desiree Coleman-Fry is here. Desiree is the founder of the Women Work Well, an organization that empowers women, especially moms, through mentorship, workshops, and engaging discussions. Now, this successful mother of four is a LinkedIn Learning instructor, a LinkedIn Creator Accelerator Program graduate, and she's currently a doctoral student at St. Louis University. Yes, very ambitious. And now Desiree has been featured in the New York Times, Harvard Business Review, and also her TEDx talk, How to Create Inclusive Workplaces. She is truly extraordinary. Please show her so much love. Give it up in the chat. Lots of hearts, lots of love. Welcome, Desiree Coleman-Fry, to Too Ambitious. Woo!
Yay! I
Yeah.
love your strategic use of swimmingly. And also, thank you for hyping me up. That was a great intro.
You are
It's
so
great to be here.
welcome. You are so welcome. This is long time coming. We've known each other for a little bit. LinkedIn brought us together, everyone,
Yeah. And
So
also like online and in real life. So
that's right. That's right. We have met in real life, which is something sometimes doesn't happen a lot when you meet people online, but it happened,
yeah.
So yeah, and I'm so grateful for that. Today on the show, we're going to talk about, Women Work Well, which is your organization that you have been working on and so passionate about it as well. But in your own words, tell me a little bit about Women Work Well in your own words?
I'm going to do that, but first I'm going to give you just a few flowers since I see your beautiful orchid. Thank you for
Right.
holding this space, right? And thank you
Of
for being a
course.
great example of women uplifting other women. I appreciate the opportunity to be here and talk
Yeah.
about women work well. So it was born out of my lived experience. As Trish said, I'm a working mom of four, and being able to look at my children and what I hope and anticipate for their success were things that I took into my dissertation program. And now that I am literally a semester away,
Wow.
so close to graduating, I'm reflecting on my dissertation, which essentially looked at the experiences of women in the workplace. So, how are women who have different family structures faring? How are low income women faring? How are women of various racial backgrounds faring? And from that, this effort was born.
Wow. I can't believe you are a semester away.
I can't
That's,
believe it
yeah,
either.
how long is the program? Like, what, 2 years?
The program is 3 years.
3 years.
I will say that to anyone contemplating going back to school over 40, it's possible.
Okay. Yes, that's right.
It's possible. And, faith is my cornerstone. I believe everything happens for a reason. I never planned to go back to school. Yet here we are at a time when more than 500,000 women have left the workforce since last year. And so it's a timely conversation.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, Women Work Well. How did that project started? Was it the LinkedIn Creator Accelerator program that started? What sparked the idea for the community in the first place?
Well, that's a really great question. I would trace it back to the LinkedIn Creator Accelerator, which was just a wonderful experience and an opportunity to meet people across the country who had their own passion areas. what I'm most grateful for is that it gave me, number one, the nudge to share my voice, and on a consistent basis. So essentially, I am a former DEI practitioner. I have spent a lot of time thinking about inclusive workplaces, how to support managers, inclusive leadership, and what are the conditions it takes for, surprisingly, people to be successful at work. And
Right.
so with the Creator Accelerator, you had to pick an area topic and just like go all in. At the time, I was newly married and in the thick of blending the family, supporting my daughters, welcoming my stepchildren. And it was hard. It was hard juggling all of the things. It was hard figuring out how to be great at work, be an executive leader, show up for my family, take care of myself. And so I just wanted to hold space for other people to discuss what that looks like.
Right. I think it's so incredible, the work that you're doing. And I love that it's called Women Work Well, right? Because it's intended to support women in a big way. And we know that women don't get as much support as they need, especially when we're talking about in careers, family, and everything like that. And you're focused on those conversations. Why is it important for you to focus on women right now?
Well, I think it's important because anytime there's something impacting one of us, it's going to impact the whole. And so,
Yeah.
what we see from the data is that, I mentioned the statistics of women leaving the workforce. Economist Katika Roy found that in just 3 months, more than 300,000 Black women were pushed out of the workforce. And so, the confluence of all of these things that are happening, macroeconomic changes, federal policy changes, has had an impact.
Right.
And what started as a space to hold conversation, to offer an encouraging word, to share, via my newsletter, has evolved into how do we translate those conversations, which are informed by, from a human-centered design, they are informed by the people who were impacted most, and then translate that into solutions. So, what my dissertation has done was maybe put the fuel on the conversations, all I was reading, all I was researching, to understand that there are opportunities in communities across the country for stakeholders to come together to identify shared plans, a shared community vision for ensuring that women are able to thrive personally, professionally, and economically. So those are the conversations that I'm really excited about that we're having right now, is the solutioning. So we know what the
Right.
problems are, and I'm trying to galvanize support to bring people together, to intentionally focus on women who've been disproportionately impacted by some of
Yeah.
the changes.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, thank you for that incredible work because it's so, so needed. When you mention support, what does support look like for you, like in terms of resources, and obviously the manpower to do it? What does that look like for you?
So I'll say two things. One, Women Work Well recently held some community design sprints. We wanted to hear directly from women, like what are the top workplace issues that you encounter, and we collected some really great data.
Right.
It'll come out in the form of a report here shortly. But one of the things we talked about is like there are macro and then there's micro. So community wide, where are the places and spaces where women are able to access resources of all kinds, right?
Yeah.
And how do you ensure that every woman has the tools that she needs to thrive at work? I would say that's more macro. More micro is, what does it look like to have resources and networks of support to
Mhm.
ensure that as women encounter various workplace challenges, they are positioned, they have the resources, the tools, the access to be able to
Right.
navigate their way. And so what may manifest itself as a challenging issue doesn't have to become a persistent issue, because
Right.
you're able to lean on support, hopefully from a supportive community,
Yeah.
to continue to excel at work.
Yeah. And I love that you obviously have put the stats together, and I love that there's a report coming out. That's incredible. Did you do all that report yourself too?
It's still coming together because we're still doing sprints.
Still doing the person. Okay.
And we're still listening. We're applying for grants. Some of the things that I've been doing lately are bringing a collective. I'm in St. Louis, Missouri. I'm from the Lou, and I'm proud. And collaboration is my love language. And so there are a lot of amazing conversations happening around the community. And there was a grant opportunity. And so I was like, what would it look like for St. Louis to come together for a number of different partners to sit at the same table to co-create a shared vision for how we could better support women. So
Yeah.
that is the work I'm tackling as we speak, and it's been really invigorating.
Yeah, it seems like it. And, I'm always just fascinated about the work that you do, especially when you are posting on LinkedIn about, supporting women. You definitely walk the walk. And so when we're talking about helping women in their career and with family and everything like that, how are they finding you in this program? Like, is it mainly through LinkedIn or community outreach, that sort of thing?
So we are building the plane as we fly it.
Okay. All
I will
right.
say, yeah, I will say that all of the work that I had previously done, sharing my voice on LinkedIn was at the advice of a mentor who said, it's not about your level of skill at this point. It's not about your area of expertise. What it is about is you being seen as a leader and you
Yeah.
being your voice being a part of important conversations. This was
Right.
10 years ago. And so my mentor encouraged me, just start sharing, start in the place that where the issues that are important to you, and start adding your voice into those spaces, which is how I got into
Yeah.
inclusive leadership, equitable workplaces. And what I will say is it has, the evolution is always like being open to the next best thing. So
Right.
I experienced a career transition. I was among one of the 300,000 Black women who is laid
Mhm.
off. I am
Yeah.
also a high achiever. I am an A
Yeah.
student. I pride myself on doing all of the things. So
Right.
out of necessity, I pivoted. And thankfully, I had already established a community. I am a public speaker. I've been blessed, tremendously blessed. Like, God has opened amazing doors for me to speak internationally, to represent our country abroad, to
Mhm.
participate in symposiums. And so I am mastering the pivot,
Right.
and I am leveraging all of the skills, talents, abilities I have to bring this to the forefront. I think, when I kind of said earlier, faith is my cornerstone, it's
Yeah.
really interesting. I didn't plan this PhD program. I didn't
Mhm.
plan for all of the things to converge at this moment, but here
Right.
I am navigating a career transition, being very
Right.
passionate and also super aware of the challenges women face in the workplace. So we
Yeah.
are building this into a social impact organization. We are
Nice.
working closely with some local funders and also institutions. So really highly world-class organizations who are
Mhm.
thinking about their status as an employer and what they can do to support women. So it's turned into a multi-pronged approach, and I'm up for the challenge.
Yes, you certainly are. We're going to call you Dr. Coleman-Fry, right? So, yeah, yeah, we got to get all of that taken care of, shirts made and everything. So, um, as we should, so you're working on your doctorate right now. You're almost done. How will getting your doctorate sort of apply to women work well? How will you leverage that to continue to build your organization?
Yeah, so my PhD is in social and public policy. So I spend, the majority of the things that I've been focused on are racial inequities and gender disparities. And so it will be another tool in the tool belt.
Yeah,
Thankfully, I have spent a lot of time, I've taken this time to really hone in on who I am, which is
yeah.
different from what I am, right?
Okay.
And so,
Explain
right.
that. Explain that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think that for a really long time, myself included, there's this temptation to define yourself based on the title you hold, based on your position, based on the organization you're affiliated with. And so, I was talking to a colleague not long ago, and I was like, man, I first of all, I was so excited when you asked me to be on Too Ambitious, because
Yeah.
one of the things they said to me is, what you're trying to tackle is very ambitious,
Yeah.
right? You
Yeah.
are looking at systems that have not performed in a way that has allowed every single person, every individual from every background to thrive. And so,
Yeah.
what you were asking is, what do we do to change that? And you're
Right.
also sort of saying, let's not accept this as a status quo. So, yes, it's a big, hairy, audacious challenge, but I believe like impossibility. And so I am working from a space of hope, and also of widening the aperture to say, like, there are tangible solutions. I know that
Right.
from my research. I know that from my lived experience. I know that from
Mhm.
the work that I've done year in and year out,
Mhm.
helping organizations transition their practices and policies to be more
Mhm.
equitable. And
Right.
so, this PhD will enable me to like further those conversations, and also, help bring other people along, because what I'm
Right.
asking people to do is to sit in the discomfort of, something's not working.
Yeah.
And when, and it's also recognizing that this particular issue may not impact you today, but if it's impacting one of us, it's impacting
Mhm.
all of us. So as you think about local and regional economies, if large segments of the population aren't intentionally, being prioritized to ensure that they are able to thrive, like that impacts local GDP, that impacts public services,
Mm.
that impacts economic mobility of everyone in that community. So
Right.
it really is this idea of, if I was thinking about this last night, if a rising tide lifts all boats,
Mhm.
um, you know, doesn't you know a ship that's having an SOS, like, won't that sink the sailors? And so,
Right.
how do we ensure that we are being thoughtful about what everyone needs?
Yeah. And I think that the biggest issue, at least from my perspective, that I see when we talk about, solving some of these issues is that a lot of us think about me and only me, right? Um, so how do you propose we sort of shift everyone's thinking from just me to a more community? Like, if I'm having this issue, that means everyone else is going to be impacted, because some people are just like, well, that's not my problem. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Especially if I've got mine already,
yeah,
that sort of thing.
yeah.
So it's, how are you thinking about that? Or what are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's one of the things we're addressing, and one of the many grant opportunities that we're pursuing is this. It's really narratives and long held beliefs. So, what you are describing is a very individualistic approach versus a collective approach. And
Mhm.
in my leadership style as a C-suite leader, I have always thought about mutuality, right? So our success are tied together. So
Yes.
if I'm winning and I'm thriving and I'm doing okay, you being a member of my community, you may not be doing okay, but eventually there will be a ripple impact. And so,
Right.
you know, there's a quote that is really my guiding post. It is
Mhm.
by an intersectional intellectual, Audre Lorde, which
Mm.
says, "I am not free until I am not free while any woman is unfree, even if her
Mm.
shackles are very different than my own." So it's this
Yeah.
idea of saying, I may be doing okay in this area, but if I look across the cubicle and see somebody else who's not,
Yeah.
what does it look like to sort of wave your hand and say, like, hey, can we ensure that this group is supported? And that principle really comes from universal design. So universal
Mm.
design looks at challenging social issues, and looks at those who are most impacted by that particular issue, invites their
Mhm.
voice to the table, listens to their perspective, and then creates a solution that would address those needs. So a great example of that is um, the curb cuts, which are,
Mm.
if you're going down the sidewalk and you have that
Mhm.
little dip that
Yep.
enables you to like easily go into the street. Well, those came about based on the disability rights movement, and
Mhm.
they became a part of policy
Yeah.
so that individuals who utilize wheelchairs can have easy access, can go about their daily tasks. But what we know is we designed a solution, the abrupt ending of a sidewalk. We designed a solution for those most impacted, um,
Right.
utilizing wheelchairs. But now it benefits everyone, because if
Right.
you're a delivery worker, if you are a parent with a stroller, if you are a bike messenger, you benefit from that curb cut. So it's really helping
Absolutely.
people to get out of a zero sum game mentality, and really trying to help explain how addressing solutions can benefit everyone.
Yeah. I never thought about the curb cut, but yeah, that's good to know. Yeah, I know that they're there because I've walked down them myself. But yeah, I didn't even know that that was something that was so intentional. You're right; it does benefit all of us. When you're thinking about the solutions to these problems, and a lot of them have been around too long, right?
Yeah,
Especially when we
yeah,
think about supporting women. What are some of the challenges that you're facing right now to solve these
yeah.
problems? You know?
I think that as individuals, as institutions, like, we have a lane and a frame, and it's like, this is what we do.
Yeah.
And the question I am asking is, what has that yielded? Right? So,
Mhm.
have we tackled all of the problems that we've set out to tackle? If not, then how might we sort of continue to do the important work that we're doing, and also invite new ways of working, which
Right.
might look like intentionally collaborating. It might look like inviting community voice. It might look like doing collective impact and identifying shared goals and going through processes to learn together, and then going through processes to communicate and establish the intentional structure. So I
Mhm.
think that what becomes challenging is how to tackle really, really, really big social problems. And
Right.
I'm of the mindset that the problems are big enough that there's room for all of us, and that
Yes.
if we can kind of like be open to new ways of working, and also welcome folks into the conversation, we'll get further faster, because we'll be
Yes.
working in coordination
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, we can definitely get further faster together, you know?
together.
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 Yes. What a novel approach, you know?
But there's just so much, and it's
Yeah.
big, and no single institution or, approach can solve, some of the
Yeah.
changes, because the reality is that the challenges we face continue to evolve,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we'll need everybody at the table working together to solve
Yeah,
it.
absolutely. When you talk about some of the resources to help your organization move fast and to fund, all of your programs and everything like that, are you seeking like VC funding? Is that something that you're going, or you're strictly going after more grants?
So there is a for-profit element of Women Work Well, which consults, works with organizations, and helps them to look at their workplaces and identify like immediate solutions to enhancing their workplace culture. And then there is the social impact element, which is focused on community coordination and collective impact, and working across verticals and breaking down silos. So it's a both and approach. And I'm actively applying for grants, and I'm also actively seeking clients. So it is fun times.
It is fun times. It sounds like it. And also too, I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit, but this current political climate that we're in, is challenging, right? We know that you've already said, over 300,000 Black women have been, laid off and are looking for work, and some have pivoted to entrepreneurship. And we know that DEI is been under attack now for a year and a half at least. Um, how does everything that's happening right now in our country has that impacted your work at all? And if it has, how are you navigating that?
Yeah, so I just want to clarify. Category found that 300,000 Black women were laid off in just 3 months. If you look, if you look at the aggregate number across 2025, that number has has well exceeded that number. In fact, Black women's unemployment rates in the most recent jobs report were higher than the COVID era unemployment rates. So, to your question though, I talked about mutuality and I talked about this idea of being in a community and how our collective efforts can really aggregate to create something bigger. So, one
Right.
of the things I've really focused on is positioning this work not as, hey, will you help this specific community and this specific community only,
Okay.
but rather
Yeah.
saying, hey, if we put some intentional effort on this particular challenge, it will
Right.
have these 17 outcomes and
Right.
impacts to the community. So, sort of going back to that idea of how do we help people better understand that if you solve solutions for folks who are most impacted by a challenge, it
Yeah.
actually benefits everyone. And in this
Yeah.
case, as we talk about economic mobility and career opportunities and ensuring that women have the tools and resources that they need to thrive and survive, that doesn't just benefit them,
Yeah.
right? For those who are parents, it benefits their children. So there's a
Absolutely.
multi-generational aspect. It also enables women to have the financial resources they need, not only to survive and thrive, but to meaningfully
Right.
contribute to their community and to also,
Absolutely.
be able to ensure we have healthy neighborhoods. So it is
Mhm.
there are multiplying benefits of focusing on this work. And so I just try to anchor people on how it benefits everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well done. Well done. So just switching gears just a little bit, you are a mom of four, so what advice do you give to your children who are seeing their mom, be ambitious and achieving, surpassing all her goals? I know you have daughters as well. What do you tell them when they probably thinking, I want to be like my mom?
I think they're at that age where, my mere existence is, worthy of maybe an eye roll. I don't know. You might have to, you might have to ask them, but, I'm transparent with my children. I believe in like open dialogue. And so they have watched me struggle. Right. So they
Yeah.
have seen, the ups and downs. I remember this past October, Women Work Well hosted Mastering the Pivot, which was an
Mhm.
amazing day of goal setting and connection and opportunity for women. And I had my daughters on hand and they were, sort of, smiling and waving and greeting. And one of my daughters was like actually working my merch table and was like talking to people, and baby girl was
Nice.
on it. And
Nice.
I paid them. I paid
Mhm.
them for their time because I want them to be cognizant of the skills, the talent, the ability,
Right.
and your time that matters.
Yes.
So I paid them, and afterwards we kind of were debriefing, and she was, "Mommy, I'm so proud of you. Like, mommy, I'm so proud of you, mommy." And she
Oh,
just kept saying that, and I was like, "Well, why, baby girl?" And she was like, "Because you could have, basically." After experiencing a career transition, like, just stayed in bed and cried. And she was like, but you
mhm.
did it. And you thought about the skills and, what you possess and how you could hold space for other women who may be looking for support. And so that for me was like, wow. So
Ah,
I try to show them the mountaintops. I also try to show them the valley,
absolutely.
and I remind them that they can do hard things.
Yes, they sure can, especially with a mom like you. They sure can. Do you believe that women can have it all? You know?
Um, Why not? I mean, here's the thing, I'm learning when that happens though. Like, yeah, I think you can have it all. Will it be all
Yeah.
today? Maybe not. Will it
Right.
be all at the same time? Maybe not.
Mhm.
But I think the thing that is like most encouraging is that seasons change. So
They
as
do.
set a goal, maybe achieve that goal, set the next best goal or multiple goals.
Yeah.
It's this idea of being open and also expressing gratitude for wherever you are. So I'm learning
Yeah.
to not begrudge timing, but to
Yeah.
allow things to happen, as they will. And also hope is my anchor. So I may not
Yeah.
have it today, but why not tomorrow? So
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, all things are possible, I already know the answer to my next question, but do you consider yourself ambitious?
Uh, a smidge, yes.
Just a
um,
smidge.
a smidge. Because really, like, I am what I someone helped to clarify for me. I wouldn't have considered this work as, being in a form of like, advocacy, squarely in the term of
Right,
advocacy. But what I am saying is that we can and we should do better. And I want to be a
yeah,
part of the solution to making that happen. And
right,
so it's looking at what I can see today and being able to see something, beyond that, and being able to
right,
see possibilities, being able to see the constraints, but also saying, where is the opportunity to say yes and
right.
so that in and of itself is a form of like resistance and faith and ambition to believe that change can happen. So I guess I'll have to just own it and say, yes, I'm ambitious.
Yes, yes, as you should. You gotta own it, Desiree. Where can we find Women Work Well, learn more about it, join, participate? How can we support you?
Yeah, I welcome you to follow me here on LinkedIn. Also,
Yeah.
I have a new Substack that I'm
Ooh.
so excited about, where I am sharing my C-suite experiences to
Oh,
others
okay.
who have, are navigating a career transition or simply career ambition. I am
Okay.
setting the table for folks to learn. So find me on Substack, and
Okay.
I'm Desiree S. Coleman on all social media platforms.
Okay. And what is the name of your new Substack?
Mastering the pivot. You see how it's all
Ooh, Mastering the Pivot. All
yes.
right. I'm gonna put that there. I love that name. I feel like that is something that everyone can read and get information from. So, I cannot wait to read that. I will be subscribing.
Yes.
I'm just gonna put it up here on the screen just so that everybody can see it. And mastering the pivot or master the pivot?
Mastering
Mastering.
because
Okay.
it's ongoing.
That's right. That's right. Mastering the pivot. You're right. It's always ongoing. Well, that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your gifts and, your energy and all the work that you're doing to ensure that women work well. So thank you. You know,
Thank you. It's been a
you're
pleasure.
Yes, it's been a pleasure. I enjoyed our conversation, Desiree. I will see you next time, hopefully somewhere out in person, maybe. I'm not even sure,
Hey,
but
make it
you never know.
happen.
You never know. Fingers crossed.
Yes.
But yes, but thank you so much for taking the time to be with me today. I enjoyed our conversation. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. So I will see you all next week for another episode of Too Ambitious. So have a good one, guys. Bye.